What's the latest on Mikel Merino? We have a good update on that. What's the latest on Victor Gyökeres and any other potential striker that we could get? Let's discuss all that. So first up, Mikel Merino. Team News and Ticks has reported that Arsenal have agreed a fee with Real Sociedad for Mikel Merino, and now only minor details remain to finalize the move. He goes on to say, I was told it would be a disaster if it didn't happen from here. Now, I do agree with that. Like, if we ended up not getting Mikel Merino for any reason, I'm still 99% sure that you're going to get him, and a deal has been agreed. That is good news. Like, if it didn't happen, it would be a disaster because we've put all our focus on this deal in the last 3 weeks. Ever since signing Calafiori, it's been Merino. Ever since he came back from the Euros, ever since he finished his holiday, ever since our preseason started, it's all been Merino. So if you ended up not getting him, it would be a disaster because at that point you'll start looking for another midfielder. You start trying to convince another midfielder, and it doesn't work like that. Like, for example, last season, remember when Timber got injured, we didn't really go ahead to buy another defender. I don't think they do it like that. Like, okay, one player gets injured that we bought, you go and buy another one. Nah. And Merino in that situation, if it fails, I don't think they have like right away another one to go and buy. So it has to be Merino, and this is the midfielder that you're going to get. Let's get him through the door. Now, looking at our midfield, you're going to find out which players are going to play against Wolves later on today. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Partey, Odegaard, and Rice. But imagine having that squad, and then on the bench you have Jorginho, you have Mikel Merino to come off there, and Vieira if he stays. We have news on Vieira as well on this video. That's a good midfield, having the option of bringing an experienced player like Merino, that would be great for us. So it's great to hear that we have a deal agreed. Team News and Ticks is not the only person who's reported about it. We have this as well from Sports Zone, who says Arsenal and Real Sociedad have reached an agreement in principle for the transfer of Mikel Merino. Now, again, how much is it? Why is it taking so much time? We were told that Arsenal were going to pay 17, 18 million a couple of weeks ago. But then a few days ago, they talked about, they didn't want that 18 million. They wanted it to be more. They're talking about they want 30, 40 million in terms of euros, but Arsenal are not ready to get to that kind of money. And a lot of fans agree. A lot of fans are saying, nah, it should be, somewhere between 20 to 25 million. But how much are we going to be paying for him? According to reports from Gary Jacobs, Arsenal are closing in on a 29.8 million deal to sign Mikel Merino from Real Sociedad. So 29.8 million pounds. I don't know how much is that, like 34 million euros or something. I'm not sure how much it is around there. I don't think that is a bad deal for a 28-year-old who can come and give you 5 years, 4 good years. An experienced player who's just won the Euros with Spain. He's played before with players like Odegaard over at Sociedad. He's played in England before for Newcastle, so he has played there before. I don't know if he knows the language well, but he's used to that kind of, that English life because he's played for Newcastle before, although it wasn't that long. I think it's great. It's not like signing a complete new player who's never been in England before and this is his first time. No, there's a lot of benefits, the fact that he's been in England before, the fact that he's played with a couple of our players before, Raya, Odegaard, and all those guys. It is positive for us, so we had to get him. No matter what, we had to get him. Unfortunately, we didn't get him before the Emirates Cup or during the USA tour or before the Wolves game, but hopefully he will be available for the Aston Villa game. I'm sure we can get the job done against Wolves even without Merino, maybe even without Calafiori, maybe even without Timber. We can get the job done in that game. But the next fixtures that are coming up, Aston Villa away, Brighton, Tottenham away, Man City away, and then the Champions League is starting. This is the Champions League will be crazy because the way they've changed the format, we could have, and we're in pot 2 as well. So we have to face 2 teams from pot 1. We could have a situation where we face both Real Madrid and Bayern Munich in the first round. That's how crazy it is. So it's going to be, you're going to need some really good players. And that week where we have Spurs, and then I think in the middle of that we'll have, let's say, Real Madrid. And then after that, you have Man City. That could be a crazy week. So you could have 7 days where you play those 3 teams. So you'll need a squad. You can't depend on Rice to play every single 90 minutes. You can't depend on Odegaard to play every single 90 minutes. Depend on Partey to play every single 90 minutes. Definitely not Partey as well because of the injury. So if you have the option of, the last 30 minutes here, you take off Partey, bring in Jorginho. This game, you don't start Rice, you start Merino instead. Or depending on the tactics for that game, you combine Rice and Merino Merino. I don't know how he's going to do it, but it's going to work for us. Hopefully it is going to work for us. But after the Merino deal, that one seems to be agreed. We're now just finalizing it, just like the Calafiori one. I guess bonuses and maybe add-ons and all that good stuff that they talk about later on. In terms of personal terms, the players already agreed to join Arsenal, so nothing is going to hold up in terms of that. It's now between Arsenal and Sociedad to finalize the deal. And it helps us. It helps us that Merino wanted to join Arsenal. It becomes quicker. Maybe it could have taken more time. And another thing is that for Sociedad, they really wanted more money. Like they wanted around 40 million euros. They're even talking about, you know what, can we increase it to 40 million euros? But it looks like they've come to an agreement at 29.8 million pounds. Listen, I wanted it to be 25 million pounds, but hey, that is absolutely fine. Let's hope after this we can get more deals and also get some players to go. Now, Merino is not the only one. Hopefully, he's not the only one. According to Ryan Taylor Sport, Mikel Merino is not the only name on Arsenal's radar. Other options whose identities are yet to have been disclosed remain under consideration. Now, listen, it's still 17th of August at the time of recording. You still have 13 days to go in the transfer window. Yes, now the games have started, but between Saturday we have a full week to train and also to get some transfers done. It's not the players who are getting the transfers done. It's not even really Ateta who's getting the transfers done. It's like the Edu and the board. So whatever Ateta tells Edu he wants, and whatever they agree on with the board and the rest of the coaching team, we should be able to get it done before the Aston Villa game, and maybe one more between the Aston Villa game and the Brighton game, because things don't get easy at all. Things get hard, and we don't have any other break between now and when the transfer window closes. So we have to do it in between the fixtures. Now, which players are we looking at? Yes, Ryan Taylor Sport has said we are looking at other players, but which ones are we looking at? And this is where we also bring in Fabio Vieira. This is according to Team News and Ticks as well. Arsenal are still looking to bring in 2 or 3 players this month. 2 or 3 players this month. Let's keep on reading this. Should they get the right players in, the club would be open to letting Fabio Vieira leave on loan. So before we come to Fabio Vieira, 2 to 3 players this month. Let's say, Merino is one of them. Of course, he's one of them. I don't think it's going to be Merino plus 3 other players. That would be too much. That would be crazy. It's impossible to get it done within 2 weeks. So if we get Mikel Merino and then we sign another 2 players this month, that means we have to get, 3 signings done within the next 13 days. Now, a lot of people would say, we've only managed 1 deal in like 3 months. Are we going to be able to do 3 deals in just a couple of days? Yeah, you can argue that it seems quite impossible. On top of that, we still have to sell some players in the team, and now Fabio Vieira could also leave on loan. We have to get a lot of things done. Unless they had everything planned out and they already talked to these players and they know it's just about making the offer, it becomes more trickier. At the end of the transfer window, it becomes more tricky. Yes, for us selling players like Nelson and Nketiah, it could be easier because teams are getting desperate to get players in, and then it can be easier for us to sell. But the other way around as well, for us to buy these other players which are linked to, it could be harder. It's definitely going to be harder at the end of the transfer window. A team would be like, I'm not sure why you should sell this player. We only have 2 days to buy a replacement. You're not going to sell him. So it becomes hard unless you pay a lot of money for these players. So 2 to 3 players. Which 2 to 3 players are we looking at? It's a striker for sure and maybe a winger. So I don't know if a goalkeeper is one of them in case Ramsdale leaves. Ramsdale is still here, but I'm still very shocked that Ramsdale is still here. There's been talks about him being linked to Ajax wanting him on loan. So all that is very crazy. You still have Nketiah, but still Nelson is here. Those are the 3 that are really expected to leave. But still there's Kiwi as well, who we thought could leave. There was Partey. Partey now seems is going to stay. Merino is only on coming in. I think Partey definitely has to stay. So goalkeeper, I think it's going to be if Ramsey leaves, you're going to get another goalkeeper. I think if Vieira leaves, you're going to get another midfielder. Or you're going to get another midfielder, then you're going to sell Vieira. So Vieira, as reported here, he could be going out on loan. Arsenal could let him go out on loan if we get the right player. So I don't know who the right players are. Is it someone like an Eze in that around that position? Then you can afford to let Vieira go. As of now, I'm happy to keep Vieira. I've seen him a couple of times in preseason. He's looked good. He can help us on the right side to back up Saka some games, and then he can also help us back up Odegaard some games. In terms of football, Vieira is very good at playing football, but unfortunately he's not really been around with the injuries and, first season. People are saying he looked a bit weak in terms of Premier League football, but listen, if it doesn't suit a certain Premier League game, if you play in the Champions League against like a Girona or someone, play him in that game. Hopefully, he can back up Odegaard. But if we get the right players, as they said, then Vieira could end up leaving on loan. That is very unlikely, but let's see what happens. But that is what Team News and Ticks says. Now, which other position are we looking at? Probably striker. What's the latest in terms of a striker? Again, this is what is being reported. Also looking at the following strikers: Victor Gyökeres, Evan Ferguson, and Santiago Jimenez. But the Gunners' budget may prevent any of these signings without an outgoing fast, says Ben Jacobs. So this is going to be dependent on what happens. So us getting Merino could allow us again maybe to sell Nketiah for 25 million or something if that offer comes in, or they're going to wait until the final day of the season, final day of the transfer window, deadline day, for teams to get desperate and sign him. If we get rid of, let's say, Nelson and maybe get that money from Nketiah, then that will allow us to go and sign a striker. I think it's going to be a domino effect. I don't think we can just sign 3 players right now and then sell 4 of them at the end of the transfer window. I think it has to be balanced according to what you're hearing and what you're seeing. It might have to be balanced. Sign 1, sell 1, sell 1, sign 1. I think it has to be like that. So we've been linked to Gyökeres, as we know. Evan Ferguson, Brighton, I didn't see him playing a lot last season, but obviously he's a very exciting young striker. And Santiago Jimenez, I did great over in Netherlands. So there's a season Jimenez was really good in the Champions League. Was it like 2 seasons ago? He was like scoring goals and he was on fire in that season. I don't know the exact numbers from last season, but it was like 2 seasons ago. He was really good. So people really want Gyökeres. I really want Gyökeres as well. But if you end up signing like a Jimenez as a striker, if he's cheaper, listen, we just want someone who just wants to stay in the box and score goals up front. If you can get that something different to what you already have, that would be great. More on Victor Gyökeres. People are Arsenal saying Arsenal have held informal talks with Sporting CP, or different journalists are saying that Arsenal have held informal talks with Sporting CP for Victor Gyökeres. Currently, the Portuguese side remains steadfast on wanting the player's 85.7 million release clause. This is according to Record Portugal. Now, 85 million pounds. Listen, for a striker who's going to bang in goals, for a striker who got more than 50, goal returns last season, goals plus assists. Listen, I think it's around that, but the only problem is that he's only been doing that for 1 season. If you had done that for like 2-3 seasons, then you'd have been like, yeah, it's definitely 85 million, but that is a huge risk to pay 85 million, however desperate you are. And I think also don't want to show that they're desperate in the market. I don't think we are desperate to sign players. It's not like you're going to miss out on top 4 if you're going to don't sign players, but we want the title, and to compete with Man City, we have to buy players like this. But Arsenal, in terms of the market, they don't want to show teams that, oh my goodness, we are desperate. We are ready to pay 100 million for this player and that player. They don't want to show that. But maybe as the transfer window approaches the end, maybe we'll decide, listen, let's just try and give them 78 million or something. Maybe that could be possible. And listen, I'm happy to take the risk because we've not really tried to have an out-and-out goal-scoring striker ever since started becoming a really good team. So maybe that is the final piece of the puzzle. Who knows? Maybe if we get Gyökeres, that is the one that is going to win us the title. I think it is worth the risk. But in terms of budget, I don't know where we are in terms of budget. I don't think we can afford to buy that Gyökeres for 85 million and buy another winger for 40 and then pay the 30 million for Merino without selling any players. Again, let's hope that we advance in terms of selling Nketiah and maybe moving on Nelson. Nketiah is now being linked to Nottingham. Nottingham interested in Nketiah. Let's see if they're going to pay that money for him. And listen, there's other players that we've sold already in the transfer, and even the youngsters. We sold a couple of them, like the likes of Vieira. So if you can put that money together and be able to get players, and maybe hopefully someone comes with a good offer for Ramsdale or Kivy, and then you can use that money to get a striker, I would be very, very grateful. So that's the latest on Gyökeres in the striker situation and Vieira. So a couple of questions for you guys. Vieira, are you happy to let him go on loan, or do you really want to keep him this season as a backup? How do you feel about that? And if Gyökeres is not possible, Evan Ferguson and Jimenez, who interests you the most? There's not too many strikers in the market, unfortunately, so it will come to a stage where if you don't get Gyökeres and Osimhen, you have to settle for what is available. But let me know. Thank you for watching. Live after the game later today against Wolves. I cannot wait for the Premier League to get started for us. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you.